everyone. Welcome to our October update on the Economic and Market Outlook. I'm Erin McLaughlin, ACEC's Vice President of Private Market Resources. We're going to start off by looking at our monthly construction put in place number. Construction put in place includes both design and construction spending. And for our latest data released in October, it's for August, and we see that our year-over-year change for August was up about 9%. This is greatly attributed to residential spending, which continues to be our strongest market, and it's up about 24%. We're seeing a slightly improvements around the private market, which is only at a decline of 2.3% year over year, and our public market is down 4% August of 21 over August of 20. When we look at the entire year of 2021 versus 2020, we see that we're up about 7%. And again, this is really attributed to a very, very strong residential market, which is about 70% single family home building, and that's up 26%. And again, our decline in private is about 7%, and public, which has declined more significantly than private during the course of 2021, is down 6.3%. So I like to share this chart just so folks can get a sense of how much spending is public versus private. Private spending makes up the majority of construction design spending in the United States. And that includes, single family and multifamily residential, as well as all different sectors, including commercial real estate, industrial, and energy and utilities. So generally, and that seems to be true during this pandemic-caused recession and our coming out of this recession, public spending continues to be fairly flat, while private spending, its ups and its downs, really do drive that total construction spending outlook. Now, what's interesting about construction spending is that we did not see it fall as fast during the pandemic-caused recession. Last year during 2020, it still was pretty strong. If you look at the bottom of the chart, which sort of compares 2020 over 2019, and then you sort of read from bottom to top, you can see that we were sort of year over year doing fairly well, and 2019 was our best year ever. But then we really started to decline in the winter of this year. And that is really attributed to a lack of revenue collections by state and localities as a result of the decline in spending during 2020. I do think it's interesting, and we're going to keep an eye on this trend because it sort of bottomed out, or appears to have bottomed out, in the spring of this year. And we're hoping that some of the stimulus efforts that happened this past spring, including the CARES Act and other federal stimulus programs that go down to the state and local level, will help ease up that decline in public spending. And of course, we're using this kind of information to help inform our advocacy efforts around hopefully passing infrastructure package someday soon. One of the most significant events held last week here in DC was the National Association for Business Economics Annual Conference. That's NABE or NABE. And besides that, we also saw Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen, as well as Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell, testify twice before Congress. So lots of activities last week. So very quickly, I'm going to hit on a few of the themes that came up continuously and how they may impact our industry. I'm also going to share some of the responses from the NABE Outlook survey, which they released last week in conjunction with their conference. So first of all, unfortunately, the panel of macroeconomists have downgraded their growth projections for this year. So in May, they thought that overall this year we would grow almost 7%, but they've downgraded that to 5.6%. And this is largely the result of that Delta variant and how it is continuing to play out, although we've seen some declining infection numbers very recently, and that a lot of folks are still not getting vaccinated. So, consumer spending makes up 70% of our economy, and that really drives GDP. So the importance of sort of having the coronavirus in check, getting folks vaccinated, continues to be of utmost importance. Secondly is inflation concerns. Many business analysts and economists are wondering if inflation is transitory. And this is kind of a funny word. It's not a typical word that has been used in the past, in the 1970s, or at other times when inflation became a major topic But right now, most economists still think that it is transitory, but there's a little fuzziness on what that means. Hopefully, it's only 6 to 12 months, and most analysts expect inflation to ease up about midpoint next year. Now, the labor market, unemployment rate, and the labor mismatch continue to be hot topics. And certainly those are very significant for our industry. Of particular consideration has been the participation of women and other caregivers in the workforce who maybe had to exit due to the pandemic and having home, childcare, or elder care responsibilities. Supply chain issues, a major topic. This is very impactful for us, particularly because of lumber and other materials that are informing that residential home building and that are needed for that home building, and how that supply chain has sort of created a tightness in that market that may not have otherwise been there, and sort of, demand and supply and how that will play out as we continue to exit this recession will be key to watch. And then just general uncertainties, with regards to the uncertainties around passage of the infrastructure package, how it is tied to a larger package, the debt ceiling debate, perhaps different corporate tax issues that may be coming up, and then climate change. How are we preparing for climate change, and how are ESG and other potential rulings and what some would consider burdens, how that may impact our industry and the overall economy. So I wanted to touch on some specific answers from the Outlook survey. So as we just talked about, the greatest downside risk to the economy, it really continues to be the coronavirus and the low vaccination rates. So hopefully we will see that improve. The biggest upside risk is sort of connected to that. It is a faster vaccine rollout, better acceptance of the vaccine. But what I like to point out is that infrastructure spending is still ranking pretty high in these surveys. In years past, we didn't even get 5% of folks thinking that we were the greatest upside. But now, many economists think that infrastructure spending and a large fiscal stimulus is going to be the greatest upside risk aside from pandemic and vaccine-related factors. I wanted to share this because I found this very interesting. When they asked, is your company, your industry experiencing a labor shortage? Only 35% said yes. So this is just very interesting, and it means that in large part, our industry may be more unique than we think, and that we have some serious labor concerns. And the same sort of goes for the supply chain as well. I was very interested to note that only 17% of respondents said they were significantly impacted by supply chain considerations, and only 8% moderate impact. And in our design and construction industry, we certainly have seen the impact of that, with clients such as home builders perhaps having to ease up on their contracts and on the pace of their work because of supply chain concerns. Lastly, I just want to close out by reminding you all that our private market resources are available online on ACEC's website. We recently added a lot of resources to our webpage. Please check it out at acec.org. We're under the Business Resources tab, Private Market Resources, and there you can find all of these monthly economic briefings, as well as information on our upcoming symposiums, our private industry briefs, our column in Engineering Inc. magazine, as well as our podcasts. And if you have any hot topics that you would like us to explore, or any economic issues that you think we should delve into, please don't hesitate to call or email me. Thank you.